Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to the Strong and Healthy Rehab channel, a place to discuss all things rehab. In this video, we are going to discuss the difference between a cash pay physical therapy clinic and an insurance-based physical therapy clinic. Cash-based clinics are on the rise. They're becoming much more common, but sometimes people are a little confused about what really is the difference between them. So we're going to dive into that to explain the differences between them, along with the benefits and drawbacks to both for you as a patient and us as therapists. In getting into talking about the differences between the two, let's start with what an insurance-based clinic is. It just means that the insurance company, a health insurance company, is going to be the main payer for any services that are provided. This is because that either the clinic or the clinicians in the clinic are in-network providers. This is just done, it's pretty straightforward, that clinics may do a little market research and find out either a couple things. One, they may look at what are the more popular insurances in their area. This just means that if more people have that insurance, they're more likely to come to their clinic. Or with the market research, they may find an insurance that is just not taken by many clinics in the area, in which they can get in network with it and be one of the only providers in the area so they can secure patients with that insurance. Now, you may be wondering a little bit about how does someone become an in-network provider. It's a pretty straightforward process. Most of the health insurance companies just have some forms, paperwork that they ask either a clinic or a clinician to fill out. They fill those out, they submit them to the health insurance company, they review it just to make sure that the people who are applying are actually medical providers, and so they're not trying to scam them or anything like that. Once they've been reviewed and approved, they send a contract over to either the clinic or the clinician with just some terms and outlines on it. Along with that, the rates that the insurance company will pay for the services that are provided. This is important. We will talk about this later. So once the clinic or clinician agrees to those and signs on the contract, the health insurance company then can list them on their website, and the clinic can bill that insurance for any services provided if you go to them. In talking about a cash pay clinic, they're just the opposite. They don't take insurance. That's really the only difference. They just charge either a flat fee or a flat rate for any of the services they provide. Now, this does not mean that if you have insurance that you can't go to a cash pay clinic, or if you want to pay cash, you can't go to an insurance-based clinic. They typically do accept both. Most insurance-based clinics do have cash pay rates. So if somebody wants to pay out of pocket, and there can be a variety of reasons for that, which we will discuss here in a moment, that they can do so. Likewise, somebody with insurance may want to go to a cash pay clinic for a number of reasons. And once they are done, they can submit the fees that they paid to their insurance company, which the insurance company can possibly pay them for those fees that they paid. Now that we've explained the differences between the two, let's talk about some of the benefits and drawbacks of both. For again, not only you, the patient, but also for us as therapists. The first thing that we will talk about is very big, and it's the reason that many people choose one or the other, and that is the cost. So for an insurance-based clinic, typically you can end up paying a little bit less per visit. So for a single visit with your insurance, you may end up paying less. This can depend upon a few things. One, if your health insurance just happens to cover physical therapy services, yes, you could end up paying a lot less. Also, if you've met your deductible for the year. If you're not familiar with a deductible, really all that is that health insurance companies ask that you pay a certain amount of money for your care during the year. And once you have reached that threshold that you've paid so much, they'll end up coming in and either paying a large portion of whatever services that you receive, or they will cover any services going forward. Now, this can be a drawback for a cash pay clinic because they can typically charge a higher rate per visit. The reason for this is that they are actually charging pretty close to what insurance companies would pay them, but you would have to end up paying that out of pocket. Now, you may be wondering, well, why would somebody want to go to a cash pay clinic when they're going to end up paying more money than if they go through their insurance? Well, truth is, there has been research done on this, and they have found that when people pay cash for services such as physical therapy, they end up paying less money overall throughout the course of their treatment. This means that many of them end up seeing that therapist for fewer visits overall compared to going to an insurance-based clinic. Now, there can be a few reasons why you could end up paying more money using your insurance at an insurance-based clinic compared to the cash pay. This just comes down to some of the things that insurance companies do. Now, remember that deductible I mentioned earlier? Well, if you have not met your deductible, sometimes you have to end up paying a portion of your treatment, either a small portion or a large portion, until you meet that deductible. And unfortunately, something that comes up very often is that at the clinic level, we don't know really what to charge you with your insurance. And you may be scratching your head to say, well, why is that? Well, again, remember earlier mentioning about when you get a contract with the health insurance company that they tell you the rates. Well, if you're a small clinic, so if they're a small physical therapy clinic that takes insurance, they may know those rates because they're only dealing with just a few insurance companies. However, these larger PT companies, well, those people at the clinic level are not the ones who are negotiating those contracts or even dealing with the billing. So they don't know what the rate is. So people that come in, that person up front, they don't know exactly how much your insurance is going to pay and how much is it going to cover. Also, a big thing with physical therapy is that we may not know exactly what we're going to do with you at every treatment. And you may be scratching your head on this going, how come you don't know what you're going to do? Well, this just goes down to we don't know because things can change. Somebody could come in and be feeling really, really good, so we could do a whole lot with them. Or somebody may come in and be in a flare-up where they're having a lot of pain, so we can't do as much. So it can be hard to say how much is going, how much we're going to bill based upon those treatments. Now, I will say most clinics have an idea of them, and they may try to collect that amount or bill you for that as well. And speaking of billing, that is sometimes something that comes up down the line. Somebody goes into a clinic, they're treated for so long, they may pay a small portion, of each treatment. And then once all those claims are submitted by the clinic or that company, the insurance company pays what they want to pay. They pass that bill off to you, the patient. And unfortunately, like I mentioned, the people in the clinic very often don't know about your insurance and the coverage of it, and you can get hit with a massive bill. Again, flip that over to a cash pay clinic. That clinic is going to tell you it's going to be X number of dollars to treat you per visit or for a total number of visits. You pay that straight up, and there you go. You don't get hit with any additional charges. Now, there are a few reasons why, as a clinician, that we may decide to just be cash pay based upon the cost. One, as a cash pay clinic, it's a little bit less of a headache to just say, hey, we'll just, this is the service that we're going to provide. You straight up pay the cash. We just deal with that. Because we, as clinicians, if we run a clinic, we're going to have to hire somebody that is dealing with the billing. They have to bill out all the claims that we have. They have to be on the phone or on the computer with these health insurance companies trying to collect the payment. And I'll be honest, health insurance companies are not very fast to pay. So if you are seen today at a clinic, that clinic probably won't be paid for several weeks or even several months by the health insurance company. Now, going back to something that we mentioned earlier about that contract that a health insurance company and a clinic has, that can lead to something else as well. A part of that contract is the rates that the insurance company will pay for all the services that the clinic provides. And every so often, that contract comes up for negotiation. During that negotiation, it is very, very common that the health insurance company starts cutting the rate, meaning that they pay less for the services that are provided. So they pay that clinic less. And to try to operate a clinic when your main payers are paying you less and less can get very difficult. But that leads to the next thing that we're going to talk about, and that is the quality of the care that you receive. Now, when we talk about quality in these terms, I'm not talking that you're going to get better care at one or the other. There's clinicians that work in insurance base that are phenomenal, great people to see. There are clinicians who are cash pay, so they're, again, great, phenomenal people to see. But this can affect a few things for you in your experience. Now, talking about those cutting of the rates from an insurance company, what can end up happening with some of these bigger PT companies is that they're just going to ask that a clinician see more people. If they're able to see more patients during the day by either seeing 2 people at a time or seeing people every 20 minutes or so, they can end up just billing more. Now, they are not trying to just say, hey, we're just trying to make more money to be greedy. It's actually very costly to run a clinic. So they have to pay for a lot of just the business expenses, from the lease to the salaries to the documentation software, registration and lease. There is a lot of costs that go into running a clinic itself. But these cuts in the cost in what the insurance company pay can trickle over where, again, that clinician is trying to see many, many people. Now, this is a benefit for a cash pay clinic because, again, you're paying for that rate and you're very, very often are going to see that clinician one-on-one. They're going to work with you the entire time that you are with them. This also allows a cash pay clinician to be more of a specialist. So they can say, hey, I'm just going to specialize in seeing people with this disorder or maybe this group of people, that they may find something that is much more unique and specialized. Another drawback that an insurance company can put on a clinic compared to a cash pay is, again, going back to that contract, that a health insurance company can limit what we do. They can either limit the number of visits that somebody can come in for physical therapy, or they could limit the things that we can do with you. And unfortunately, again, that clinic they're trying to operate, they're trying to pay all their costs, to pay their employees. And if an insurance company says we're not going to pay for this service, despite if you need it or not, they typically won't pay. They won't do it. Now, a clinic may decide to do it, but they may charge you a cash pay rate for it. But if we flip that over to a cash pay, there are no limitations. They can see you as many times as you need. They can do whatever treatment is needed to help you. So that is something that people will use to decide one or the other. There you go. That was just a little breakdown of the differences between a cash pay physical therapy clinic and an insurance-based physical therapy clinic, along with some of the reasons why someone who opens a clinic decides to go with the insurance or just be cash pay, and some ways to help you make a better decision. Ultimately, what I would say, you're going to have to do whatever is best for you. If you find a clinic that's really going to work for you to help you with reaching your problems, you like the therapist, they have the specialty that you need, of course, if they're insurance-based or cash pay, they'll work with you either way to help you reach your goal. Thank you for tuning into the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up button. If you have a question or comment, drop them down below. And please consider subscribing to the channel, because all this information that is provided is to keep you strong and healthy.